Good evening and welcome to the Laugh Monkey Music Show. Today we have on Michael DeVar. How are you?
I'm incredible.
You are incredible.
So are you, so is your audience. We're all incredible if
you are
we want
incredible.
to be.
You have played and been with so many different fantastic people in your life. We're going to delve into a lot of it today. You've done from Jimmy Page to, I actually didn't you actually worked with Alf before. I think you've worked with all the greats.
Alf was the worst. He was such a wicked man. He had a huge trailer outside. My trailer was half the size of Alf's. We had a little bit of a scuffle actually over one of the extras. It was a beautiful girl, and he ended up with it. And we missed,
he's a star though. His show.
Yeah, Alf. He wanted to go into movies, but he felt that there wasn't any leading ladies that would really fit.
You know what's funny is, first off, probably 5 people and you and me know who Alf is. No.
Are you kidding? I've done
no, I'm joking.
50 hours of American television.
I mean, how crazy was that show back then? That was so out there.
Well, I think there's a certain naivete to pre-pandemonium, and I think people wanted to get out and have fun and be silly.
It was a wacky show.
It was the era of silliness. It was also the era of sitcom, great sitcoms. And I did Seinfeld. I did all of those shows.
You did a lot of them. From there to Miami Vice, you did everything. So, where, I mean, as much of a musician, you're an actor, and then you have your radio show. But the main reason we're here today, we're talking about you have a new release of an older album.
Yeah.
That everyone should be aware of. And you're talking about, you have a theory of why I wasn't even so aware of this. The new is the album for your band Detective. And that was your second band, right? After Silverhead, right?
It was the second band after Silverhead. Okay. Yeah.
And it's fantastic. And you end up the label with Jimmy Page's label, and which right there is just street cred beyond anything,
Yeah, I remember at the time, it was a very dark and spectacularly narcotic era, and I use my words advisedly. It wasn't that spectacular. I had to get sober to of all of that, but it was an amazing time. Silverhead, we knew Zeppelin. I knew Jimmy pretty well from London nightlife, and we got along really good. And Silverhead he liked, and Zeppelin came to see Silverhead in Birmingham, where Bonzo had a farm. So we did this club. There was about 30 people in the club, and 4 of them were Led Zeppelin. So of course, after the gig, we go back, for what was going to be like a tour. It was 3 days before we hit the road again.
Really?
And those 3 days, there's your movie. Because it was such a mesh of interesting vibes, because he's very literary, Jim. He's really smart and has his own documents. It's not all Crowley,
I've heard that before. I think he could be like a schoolmaster himself. He could have been like, if not music, he could have been.
Oh, he is. And even now, he's a historian, as I am, in terms of rock and roll music, blues music, soul music. And that enables people to understand what you're trying to get at. With me, with my radio show, it's been amazing, because you're extolling the virtues of another artist, you're not extolling the virtues of you, and that is the problem with it all. That's why they believe, because they're in this little bubble and they're gods, and they're not, and nobody is, and yet we all are. And so when you when you realize that you're not deified, you tend to either OD or get sober, and Jimmy got sober, literally. But the thing was, it was an amazing time for big music. And I wanted to make an album that was really big, not bluesy, Silverhead, 1972, Faces, Stones, Blues, Slim Harpo, all of that. I wanted ba, boom, boom, ba, boom, boom, ba. That drove me wild.
The drums and production on the drums on the album.
It feels
like Bonham.
It's Andy Johns. It's Glyn Johns' brother. You remember Glyn Johns, obviously.
Oh yes.
Celebrated in Get Back, the Peter Jackson brilliant documentary on the Beatles. But
was that the best?
It was absolutely. We've watched it a ton of times.
I could talk about it for days. I was so happy. It didn't make you happy about the Beatles? Like, to me, I'm gonna step over you. Like, I get so excited, like, to see the happiness of the Beatles towards the end. Like, it felt like it was all the books and everything you've read about them. the acrimony or whatever, but to see the happiness, the
How much
igniting
they
of
loved each other, Sean. How much they loved each
I
other.
know that, but like, you always felt it was more prickly after, because everything's in hindsight. Because I wasn't there, a lot of us weren't there, but to be in that room with them and see the playfulness, how they light up that a little shot of that magic, even how Yoko and Paul and the guy were joking and how they're busting on each other, that's just magic, man. And then the fact they have that footage is just.
Well, Peter Jackson's classic quote about it when he went there to do the AI vibe, that he was going to do an immersive sort of Beatle thing, and then he realized when he saw those tapes that they loved each other, and we're left with the contemptuousness that Michael Lindsay Hogg edited, and we saw, but the love between them is, is perfect. All you need is love, baby, and a Beatle.
But it made me feel so much better as a lifelong Beatle fan, and I've read a billion books, and like everyone else. And I tell you, reading that was just a whole new perspective again. I was like, I actually felt happy for him.
Yeah, it's an amazing vibe. It really is an amazing vibe, and I love the movie. And Glyn Johns was in it. Andy, the younger brother, did our album and got the drum sound.
Both of them.
Although the drummer really was very clever at that too. We were so intense about that album. It was not like joyous Jack Daniels. I mean, it was Jack Daniels.
It's a good rock album. Both albums. So we're talking about the band Detective. So people are it's being re-released and remixed, and it's phenomenal. You can listen to it in your car and on your small speakers, but what you got to do is you got to put your headphones on, the best headphones. You really got to listen to it fully, and immersive, because it brings you back to the days like we're talking about Faces and Zeppelin. The production is right up there. The songs, your voice is spot on. Like it's almost a different voice that I've heard you do. It's so different, It's like you love 70s music, but you're a fresh band from the 70s that you hadn't really heard a lot, got any exposure.
Yeah, I just felt that I wanted to get the rasp out, get the raspy Stevie Marriott, Terry Reid, and Rod, of course. But and the songs, I would close my eyes. I've never closed my eyes to sing, but it was an amazing thing that took me over. Really, I felt operatic. Really, I felt I could have come out of that album and done Figaro or something. It was really an amazing magic feeling, because that music is just so intense, and some of it is fun. Help me out.
But it's a good rock. But it's just good rock. It's good, honest rock.
Tough.
It's
tough.
Yeah, and the guitars are great. Everyone's great. The bass, everyone is just spot on. It sounds like a seasoned band for years. It felt like you guys were a band for 10 years before you recorded.
Thank you very much.
It's a crime that you guys only did like 2 albums.
Well, the crime.
I know
was the time.
Right.
It was time for a crime, and we were all criminals and arrested and thrown away.
Well, like Zeppelin got a couple albums out, or that 10-minute, or the Beatles are 10 minutes. Really, they're 10 years. They got a lot out. Like in that time period, while it's good, you gotta get a lot of it out. Like GNR got a bunch of albums out. That period, you just gotta.
Every 3 months, you got to get a record and singles and all of that. But we didn't get that opportunity because Swan Song was a situation that was very, very complex. In that, none of the bands on that label, except Bad Company, who had management, made it their point heard and sung and felt. It wasn't that case. And all of those guys, Pretty Things, Stone the Crows, all of those people didn't make it. Even Dave Edmunds. But Bad Company did, A, because Paul Rodgers is God, and B, because
he's good. He is so good.
I just love him. But the whole band, I mean, great songs, clean, simple, rocking. It had, car top down, all of that on the freeway. But we were a little more sinister than that. And Gene loved it, and Gene and Paul, and they put us on, 2 or 3 tours, and that was really exciting. Yeah, but I mean, walking out to 20,000 people with Gene and Paul makeup wasn't exactly exciting. There's no detective makeup there. You know what I mean? So, it was tough.
What did you guys look like? Because in the first album, you have the image. And I always wondered about that. I read like Detective, the name didn't jump out to me as a 70s rock band. And then I saw the picture on the album cover, the second one, you guys were more dressed at times. It almost looked like you're like a Knack type of My Sharona, like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh God, I do.
You know exactly what I'm saying. You guys got the suits on. It doesn't feel like you're like the Faces in Zeppelin. You guys are very clean cut looking though.
Well, yes, suits and ties, because everybody's in skin tight, flared something, which is a great title.
That's your next book.
But we felt studious. it's very interesting that you would bring that up, because the science of rock and roll is really exciting, and interesting how you achieve those sounds and those songs. It's not, you don't rattle them off. They're not 12-bar songs.
No, they're not at all.
They're not blues based.
No, but there's a lot of breathing. There's a lot of breathing in your songs that really make the song.
A lot of space, a lot of air where you can feel something, feel it. You're not bombarded with it. You know. But we wanted to express a certain sort of, simplicity. And our lives were anything but simple because of the drugs and all of that. And the whole mythology behind Swan Song and behind Led Zeppelin and all of that, that was a burden in many ways. When one was compared to them, it's Bonzo on drums. Absolutely. No, it isn't, and all of those things. Jimmy was playing that solo. Once you get that for a while, you really want to walk away. And we did, we walked away from it for many reasons. And one of them was being assaulted by people that thought we sounded like Zeppelin. That it was Zeppelin and me singing, and it's just got to be a bore. And anyway, I was so strung out, at the end of that, as everybody was in that camp.
Music was good. I was going to say you guys sound like Greta Van Fleet, but I was wrong. Probably more like Zeppelin.
Lord have mercy. There's many tribute bands.
I know. Actually, they sound good, but it's the fact that he said they'd never heard of Zeppelin. I think in an interview when he said I'd never heard of Zeppelin or something, I was like, all right.
What Robert said? Robert is, because when he was asked, the singer, listen, I'm not down on anybody. You want to plug in and play?
Oh no,
fucking do it, great. And he said, no, I really loved Steve Tyler. And Robert goes, excuse me, this kid's doing, and there's Percy Plant.
I know.
It's ridiculous, but it's all okay. I don't care.
No, but I just thought it was funny because actually I'm like, all right, it's cool. It's good.
Yeah,
But then I heard that I was like, come on, there's no way. That's like shooting buckshot at a barn or something. You got hit. We all got hit with Zeppelin. You did not hear Zeppelin and have your parents playing AOR radio in your house. You just couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. And Greta Van Fleet, a terrific band, and God bless them. And I hope
they're tight, but they did hear Zeppelin.
Yes. And everybody did Beatles.
Yeah.
Or the Stones. I on the radio every day getting demos from people. I would say 80% of the stuff that I get is derivative of the iconic artists. They're just called, the bloody ashtrays.
Well, the three of those guys wrote every song. Three of those bands wrote every other rock song out there. All three of those bands together pretty much wrote every song out there that we've heard now.
Yeah.
Written,
yeah.
All the good songs that have been written by those guys.
But this is a bad sign for rock and roll. That's why I really, really, pray and get on that mic and say, guitar, bass, drum singer is coming with a tambourine. And I really do believe that will happen. I think it has to happen where music is below the belt, and not in your head. And get out of your head.
And here's what we talk about, break our fourth wall here. With social media, there's so much of it to digest with social media. I think that the problem is you get their kids are going to feel like, get off my lawn, that they're at home and they can get 48,000 views on their bed playing guitar, and they're better guitar players than I'll ever be, but they can't go to a club and rock it out and fill a club and be energized.
Yeah,
that little media world right now of celebrity Instagram stars does not translate.
Let's not bore each other with that, Sean.
No, but I'm saying it's going to crush. It's going to crush.
Yeah,
real musicians have to come back out and play. That's not going to hold.
Yeah, Billie Eilish will stay, and people that are talented, but
she's a performer.
It's a technological world, and TikTok sucks, and God bless everybody. And I just want to hear somebody that's new and fresh and believes in themselves and is not copying anyone else.
It's a good thing. Let's talk about a couple of the songs on this. The influences that you had. But the sounds like I'm gonna tell you, I don't know how Nightingale escaped and it was not huge. How they didn't jump on that and push that so hard. That is a beautiful song.
This is just an operatic.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to be sort of Wagner, but with tight trousers.
No judgment.
And I think we accomplished this, Sean.
It was. I'm saying honestly, and I was like, wow, I was listening to jamming out, and I was like, whoa. I was at a pullover from it. It was really. I was like, whoa.
Oh, that's great.
I have it so loud in my car, and my speakers are cranked. I'm like, whoa.
That's wonderful. God, I love to hear that. People love that song. They really do, and it does have a special magic to it because it's heavy music, but it's about a light subject. But you know, this is not a growling Iron Maiden. You know, this is beautiful. It's almost like a tattoo. It sounds like a tattoo to me, that song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really it's beautiful. I'm the kind of guy, I believe that music is like food for the soul. So for me, I can really love to dive into a song and an album. I like full albums. The way the album, and I'll say this, I always say this, the lineup of the songs. I have the song titles. I forget the titles of them, but the lineup of them, how the order your album goes in, means a lot to me.
Yeah, me too.
Me.
I
don't
exactly
like listening to a couple songs on an album because that's why iTunes and the streaming sites make me crazy because you can't. I'll have to delete and build my own list because I don't like that, or I'll have to rearrange it. I'm a vinyl guy if I can help it. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and Grim Reaper has a particular vibe to it.
Yeah.
You know, and that New York radio station played that riff, you know, for years, and we all did very well out of that one. But it's an amazing record. I do love it. I didn't look at it for years. I didn't listen to it. Didn't think about it until we got that call. I got that call, you know, and Jimmy said, "It's yours. Take it," you know, and I thought, oh. And then Scarlett got hold of it. Scarlett Bartlett, who's just been amazing, and Org Records, and it'll be out on Record Store Day. You know?
Are you gonna do like some like singles for it, like video song singles or like words? I mean,
I don't think there'll be any videos. I would imagine that they would probably put out singles. I don't know. I'm not really immersed in that. I really am happy that it's coming out and the right people will listen to it, you know, and that's all I care about. In terms of the strategy of, you know, reaching the public, I don't know. That's not my part in this particular theater.
If I was your guy back in the day, I would have done Recognition and then Grim Reaper and then Nightingale.
Well, Recognition is insanely cool. It's heavy
and
metal.
That is like a pop rock. I can almost hear Crosby, Stills and Nash in it a little bit.
Oh, that's great.
I love that.
There's a falsetto harmony on there.
Yeah,
really,
but it also has a little bit of grit in it, just enough, a little bit of grit in it. So that to me would have been a good crossover song because when you always want to have your good first song come out, you know.
It's also symbolic because the hook is recognition is what I want. Is what I want is the key, you know.
But it fits right now today. It holds over now.
Yeah, yeah. I think any good music. I mean Wagner. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the lyrics
he lives just down the street, which is interesting. He's a lovely bloke, German guy, lovely. His garden is beautiful.
A lot of artists have good gardens.
Yeah, I got a good garden. I'm looking at it right now.
I've seen some of your pictures on Instagram a while back there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful house, beautiful garden. I got lucky. I don't know how. Balls, actually. I just decided to do it, and I do it, and I don't think about it. I just get it done.
Well, you know, the motto is if you think you stink, you just gotta right?
I never heard that.
That's my motto. Yeah, you think you stink.
You should have a t-shirt company, sure.
There's enough people with those shirts out already. God.
They did.
I'm saying just in general, all kinds of crazy stuff. I just try to keep my little show going.
Now I'm thinking about all these songs now. Oh gosh.
It's
my wife, my young beautiful wife, she adores it too. That's interesting because she wasn't even born when it came out.
But it's so good. So what were you thinking? So you're saying because of getting mixed in with the Zeppelin comparisons and stuff is what held you back from?
No, I don't know. Drugs held us back. I must say.
No, I'm saying from me not hearing, but from a lot of people not being aware of Detective, do you think?
What's that?
The reason why you think a lot of people didn't hear about Detective up until...
Because it wasn't a label, Sean. We were a sub label from Atlantic. Atlantic could give a shit about us. In fact, there's somebody there, I can't remember her name, but she, you know, Spitz's book on Zeppelin. Did you read it?
Which one?
Bob Lipsett's book on Led Zeppelin.
Maybe
it just came out.
No, they didn't.
I'm all over it. And there's somebody in there. Atlantic didn't do what Peter Grant thought they would do. Peter Grant and Led Zeppelin were a little magic bubble, and Atlantic were the people that were responsible for getting us out there, getting us press, putting out singles, doing what it takes in those days to get a hit record. And they did not comply with some Swan Song's wishes, you know, because it was dark and mysterious. It was like going into sort of some Tolkien kind of nightmare. And I think that that's why it didn't go, because it was, it was not commercial. It wasn't advertised and stuff. And I think the music was so heavy and interesting and big and fat. It wasn't pop. It wasn't Bryan Adams. It wasn't, wasn't any of that. Why I love acting is because I want to get as real as I can about it with a crap screenplay. Like me playing Murdoch on MacGyver, I really wanted to kill him. In my head, when they said action, I could turn it like a switch. I could become that person. That's why when I sang that record, I just closed my eyes and I just didn't think about, whoa, that's a good note, I'm going to do that one again, because if you do, it takes away the beauty of that one existential moment that is important, and everything else is not important. We spent $1 million. We spent $500,000 because we were in the hot tub of the record plant in Hollywood. And we didn't, and it was one of those bacchanalian gigs. But when we got into that studio, wow, breathtaking.
Yeah.
It's breathtaking to see your brothers playing like that, for one thing, and then going in and singing over the top of it. It was an incredible experience, both records. So therefore, what I'm getting at is that is the victory.
Okay. I agree. To me, I'm an observer without judgment. That's why I'm asking these questions from the outside.
Absolutely.
And seeing how despicably how, like I see, radio and radio, but like A&R people and go after musicians and Hollywood go after actors and just eat them alive. So I'm kind of asking you from an outside how they went towards you with those things, not taking away from your art that you've created.
No, I hear you. I hear you. You are a lover of music. You love the art of music. A lot of people are in the game for the love of exhibitionism. They're not there to make great art. They're there to become, live in Bel Air next to Beyonce.
Well, what the worst thing is now is like, because there's no taking an album for a band. Like you guys would have been nurtured for a couple of times. Back in the day, you could do 3 or 4 albums. A lot of these big, huge bands, Aerosmith didn't break out huge first. You know what I mean? They had to be worked, right? You really had to work. There's a few albums that came out.
Clive Davis, where there is no Clive Davis.
No, right.
They're all, shall we say, they're not in love with it. They're in love with the results. They're not in love with how to get a result.
But that goes back to the rock and roll band question. Like, there'll be no nurturing of a band to do that, to be a rock and roll. They're gonna really have to slug it out on their own, because there's no time for a couple albums to become a rock band on the road.
Oh no, it's songs now, don't you think? I mean, it's not even albums.
No,
it's songs. Yeah. If you have a song, great, you'll probably get a chance to get another one. Will you make money from it? Absolutely not.
You gotta sell T-shirts to make money now.
Well,
you want to be a band, you gotta sell T-shirts on tour.
And please got some gigs,
Yeah.
But I haven't done any of that in a couple of years. I did a couple of nights ago to the Troubadour in LA to raise money for Howie Pyro from Degeneration, Jesse Marlin's band, and he had a liver transplant. He got no money, and Butch Walker and Jacob Dylan came along, and it was an incredible night. And they are real. They give reality out there.
Those are two great, really real musicians. Like,
yeah, I mean, I would rather listen to Scott Walker, than virtually anybody, and Tim Buckley. And, there's so many people, Nick Cave, and, that are really into the expression, the expressing of how they feel as artists. And it ain't easy, baby. It ain't easy.
It's helpful if you like one artist and you have to see what that person listened to, that person, the artist you liked, and go back 3 more people. And you'll find the source. Like, that's how I've discovered so much, in my life, Oh, I like Van Halen, Oh, you like Alan Holdsworth, and then they see Jeff Beck, and then you're neck deep in a big pile.
But you're going to end up in muddy waters.
Well played, because that's where it goes. It all does go back there.
Of course.
But that's the whole point. It all goes back somewhere, and for people not to realize that is insane. But
Little Richard probably is the guy. As guitar players go, I don't know how you think about this, but it's interesting. Link Wray, who is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, for me, was the guy. That fuzz tone, unbelievable, powerful, bluesy, big, fat rock and roll, which is what I love, more than anything. We just wanted to make Detective more direct and more clinical,
Mhm.
and not so bluesy. Because it's all about three, I always say rock and roll is three chords, and good night, but it's not. It's much deeper. You can go much, much deeper. And we did go deep with that record.
You did. I looked at actually, have you done so many songs since then? Like when you play live, do you put those in your set too?
No, only those guys could play it. And anyway, Sean, you speak to a lot of people, and clearly you're a great journalist and interviewer. For me, if you're in a band and that band created that song, you can't reinterpret it. What is this, Broadway?
Okay.
I'm trying to do a new project with different people and try and
I
create.
just thought if you're playing out and you say, you know what, I'm doing a set. This is a song, Nightingale. It's a beautiful song. I'm just going to play an acoustic and just because I enjoy it. You don't have to justify anything. You don't have to
I've
redo
never done
it
that because the other guys have to leave the stage. So, whatever project I'm doing, I want to do that project and bring another one in. I mean, I'll do, Hello New York or something simple. Or if we were in Japan, I would do Silverhead songs. Or if I did in Germany, I'll do a detective song. And we do Help Me Up or Ain't None of Your Business or something that they could understand, and vibe with. But
great riffs too. Great riffs in those.
Oh, shocking, man. I mean, and riffs were everything. It's just making them orchestral is the key.
I hear you. Like I don't. I'm sorry. If an artist wants to cover their work or not cover it to be original, like I'm not the kind of person I don't judge. Or like everybody does what they want. It's whoever you feel as an artist. It's your song. You want to redo it. You want to do your own version of it again. Awesome. You don't want to. Awesome.
I do Obsession every now and then, which was a big hit for me, and Holy Night, and I'll do that, but I'll, crank it up and make it rock and roll, and they all get excited. And I'll do Get It On because Get It On was Live Aid and all of that, and they want to hear it, But in terms of Nightingale, most of them weren't born when that nightingale flew.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying it's beautiful. I wouldn't look down if you play that live. That'd be a great song to hear you do live. But it's beautiful.
Well, maybe I will. Maybe I will.
It's just a compliment. That's all.
Yeah.
So could we actually let's share your story to get the Power Station and Live Aid? I love that. If I want some new fans to hear this and take a hold of that.
Well, me and Jonesy and Clem Burke, Steve Jones of the Pistols, Clem Burke of Blondie, and Tony Sales of Tin Machine with Bowie, and Nigel Harrison from Silverhead and Blondie. So we're opening for Duran Duran and Checkered Past. We have a band called Checkered Past on EMI, Every Mistake Imaginable Records. So we get out on the road, and we opened for Duran, and it was really fun because the place goes nuts. We do a song, and people go, "Oh, that's great, that's good," and then it'd go John Taylor. They go, "Ah!" And between every song, I would mention a member of the band, and they'd go crazy. So in the dressing rooms, when they're in the dressing rooms, they're thinking that we're going down like the Beatles, But anyway. So then a few months go by, and Don Johnson's a friend of mine. Everybody knows, there he is, a friend of mine. And he goes to, I think we were wherever we were, some down south somewhere. I can't remember where, but I went to see him on location. He was doing a movie, and I was traced down by Wayne Forte, the New York promoter, and I get a call. And Obsession is like #1 all over the world. I'm feeling really good. Checkered Past absolutely destroyed itself because of drugs and madness. I was 4 years sober by then. Get the call. Michael, there's a band. The band need a singer desperately. They're going on a 6 months tour and they don't have a singer. And I go, who's the band? They go, I can't tell you. I said, oh, that's really good. Well, in that case, I want to go first class from here to New York City. I want a white limousine to take me into Manhattan. He says, done. I do exactly that. I go into Manhattan, I go into the building, I go up 14 floors, I walk into the office, and it's a very nervous John Taylor and Tony Thompson, God rest his soul, sweating, and Wayne, the promoter. And he goes, well, what do you think about doing this? You were so good in it in Checkered Past, and we love your voice and everything. Well, what do you think? I go, I mean, in my head, I'm buzzing. They're #1, that record.
Yeah.
So they say, let's go to the Power Station. And maybe we can give you some the album without the voice on it, and you have to fly to London to meet with Andy Taylor. because he was really the the master of ceremonies, as it were. So they put me on a plane. I'm on the plane. I'm listening to the songs. I got the words. I'm listening to the songs. I'm listening to the songs. I fly to London. I go to the Dorchester, beautiful hotel. I go from there right away, no sleep. Get it on, bang it go. I can't help but sound like Robert Palmer. You know the way he's saying tight and sort of like Marvin Gaye, kind of down here, and I'm up here, So I go to the studio. I sit in the studio, recording studio for hours. The doors open suddenly, billowing marijuana smoke, and out of the smoke comes Andy Taylor. And he goes, "Whoa, come on, then let's do it." And he presses the button. While he was smoking his part, I was rehearsing Get It On and Murderous, which is one of the tunes. So he sits down, he hits the button, and I sing, "Well, you're dirty and sweet, clad in black, don't look back, and I love you. Let's go shopping." Andy Taylor says, literally one verse. I've flown thousands of miles and been up for days. And he goes, one verse. And he goes, "Yeah, come on." And we go shopping, fly back to New York, get booked into the beautiful hotel. Don Johnson's in town. Don Johnson and I go to, all very excited. As we're leaving the hotel, and this is absolutely true, the phone rings. It's Danny Goldberg, my manager, brilliant man. He says, "You're out." I go, "What?" He says, "You're out. It's Robert Palmer's back in. He wants to do the tour." Does that mean I have to give all the clothes I bought back there? Do I get them? Do I get to keep them? We go to dinner and I'm really bummed. So me and Don were eating the Chinese food, and he's going, "All right, Mikey, it will be okay. Don't worry about it." And I look over and I see John Taylor in the restaurant. This is all true, a little drunk. And Don looks at me. It's this beautiful face and this brilliant mind he has. He looks at me and he goes, "Hang on a second." He goes over there. He says, "Can I have a word with you?" They go outside. They talk to each other. He comes back to the table and says nothing. I go back to the hotel, the Carlisle Hotel in New York. I go back to the hotel at 7 a.m. in the morning. Danny Goldberg calls me and says, "You're in. You're back in." I go, "What?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Why? How come? How did that happen?" He said, "They made a deal with the merchandise, and well, it's fine. And well, you're going to do the thing." And 3 days later, I'm in front of 2 billion people.
That is amazing. I want to step back at one part of the story because I've heard it. I thank you for sharing it with people that haven't heard it. It's such an amazing story. And after this, don't watch this, people watch the Live Aid thing, knowing what you know about the story and having to go on stage and sing with a brand new band like that and perform. That's huge. I don't think anyone's ever done that. So, but before we go there, the fact that you only heard, Andy only heard a short line, it feels like it's insane. It feels crazy. But if you look back in hindsight, the work and the production that Andy's done, he knows what he knows when he hears it. It wasn't just a fluke. He knew.
Andy Taylor is I think, probably the most innovative, interesting guy.
Right.
And he really can tell you A flat, D sharp.
Yeah.
He really knows his music. And what he's looking for, and what anybody is looking for, is feeling. How you feel. Do you believe that singer? Do you believe that guitar player? Is he showing off? Is it exhibitionism, or is it beauty? Is it art? And he really is that guy. And he believed in me. And I think his belief in me made me able to deal with such an extraordinary thing. But when you're an actor, you really have to get rid of all your fear. It's not going to serve you well. And you must have confidence in your own abilities, and people would say, and schmuck critics would say, "Oh, Robert Palmer's shoes are really big." I said, "I brought my own fucking shoes." And I did, got up there. And the other thing is, I got up on stage and Andy's amp blew up. And Bill Graham, not the most charming man in the world, went insane. So there's all this going on. And if you look at the footage before we actually start to play, I'm laughing my ass off. I couldn't believe that I've just been chatting Madonna up. and listen, to Bob Dylan, light a cigarette. I mean, all of the images are so amazing. You can imagine what Backstage was like. It was like Fellini
I can't because even now you can't look back and think about all those artists and nothing ever happening again. Like that is just so amazing that all those worlds collided.
It was Keith, Dylan, Ronnie Wood, Madonna, everybody was there. Mick Jagger, Tina Turner, and
everybody sounded different. Everybody sounded different.
And me, who was in Detective, I mean, so, but I felt fantastic. I felt so good, and I was determined just to enjoy myself and sing those songs as best I could and leap around. And
it's amazing you did that though. I mean, you really you owned it. But I thought about, like, as a singer, it's a big stage and you got to run around and catch your breath. And it's a new band. So that's another challenge. That's a huge, because you have to entertain, and that you're an actor. So it's more than just singing in one spot.
Yeah.
That's an Olympic event, that stage.
Well, you see, you've hit it on the head, which is very smart of you, because Robert Palmer, I'll do an impersonation of his physicality. Okay, are you watching?
Yep.
This is the only thing Robert do. That's it. That's his stage show. Now, doing that at JFK Stadium is not going to play. So I'm up and down everywhere, and he didn't want, he's such a talented bloke. I knew him 10 years before all of this and had the deepest respect. With Vinegar Joe, you might not be aware, but he had this incredible Ike Tina R&B, Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell kind of band called Vinegar Joe.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Oh, you should look it up. You'd like it. It's very, very R&B. And that's what he was. He was a laid back guy in a suit.
You're right.
He joined Detective, someone, I don't know. And he was amazing. And I love him. And God rest his soul. And but he did not want to play in front of 30, 40, 50, 60, 80,000 screaming girls. I did. What a shock.
You owned it.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great. And then once I'd been on telly, then
your lifestyle.
every now and then, but I always stayed fit and I always ate right, and I stay at 140 pounds, and that's it. And I'm very, very, what's the word, narcissistic, perhaps, about that. And I just want to be in shape. You know what it is? And all you guys out there listening to this is be ready. Just be ready. Be ready. Just because you don't have a job or it's not happening for you right now, it will. If you want it and you're kind and you're courageous and you have compassion in you for other people, you will be loved and you will love yourself and you'll go out there and kick ass. And it sounds like some simplistic, kids' kindergarten poem. It is also true.
True. In rock and roll, the model you're doing then, being clean and being in shape back in the mid 80s, is the model nowadays. And when I talk to newer, younger musicians, they work in a billion, even out in LA or the Strip, they're working in a million different bands. Nobody's getting messed up. They'll have a beer but no one's partying down. They're honest. They have reliables. They're friends. They play each other's albums. It's a real work ethic now.
Well, I think it's living out at what you think is what you should do, which is get fucked up. You think you should do that. It's part of the gig, and unfortunately, most of them, obviously succumb to that and then end up in AA working with, animals, to rescue animals. But as opposed to playing, Live Aid. I mean, the other thing about Live Aid that you might find amusing is, guess where everybody stayed? The same hotel that night. Can you imagine? I was on a couch with Dylan, Keith, Mick, Don Johnson, Ronnie Wood, on a couch in the hotel, and they all got shades on, but they're all like this, out of their heads like this. Yeah,
you were totally sober then, so you got to remember the whole thing now.
Huh?
If you were totally sober at that point,
yes.
So you remember the whole thing. What a gift!
I just laughed my ass off, dude. I was in the company of I was in some Greek Olympian place. This was an iconic moment with these people who did have the most unbelievable vibe. I mean, Dylan especially has this thing that is it's like a halo, but like a little crooked, And can't understand a word he's saying, and you don't have to. He's Keith Richards, So who cares what he says? He keeps fucking Richard. So, where's Mick? Oh, I don't know. I'm right here. I mean, it was just
The five guitar string pirate. He is.
It was hilarious. Well, yeah, he's a pirate. He's a very, very wealthy pirate.
He is, but he's an anomaly. And I think what's really great, and
yes.
the double gift is to this is you were sober, so you have a memory of it, and there was no phones and pictures, so you have such a gift in your memory of sobriety and being the only one to remember that moments that you did with clarity.
Oh yeah. It was just wonderful. Isn't life made up of wonderful memories and bad memories and memories you learn from and memories that you adore? That's what I want to be, awake and around and in the moment, and I get it on, man. You know, I mean, there's no other way of doing it. And say what you want to say and say what you feel. Don't try and tread on your own belief system, or deny it or negate it. That's illness. You keel over.
And one of the goals of this show, and just with all people, is to listen to everything. I try bringing every artist in here, every type of people, be open. There's no such thing as guilty music. It's just music, whatever you love. If you want to hear Ace of Base or Zeppelin or whoever you want, no judgment. Whatever you like. I'm not mine. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just enjoy it.
It's what you like. Right. You like the real thing. Clearly, look at all those guitars.
I do. Yes, I do have my own opinions on music, but I love anyway. Listen to any music you want as somebody. I won't judge it. No, I do have my own strong opinions myself.
Yeah, no, you're right. Absolutely. I mean, just enjoy every second. It's and also, one day you're in one frame of mind. So the same applies to a band. You're in a band at this time, and it changes what you want to do with yourself, what you want to play. And you adapt, or at least I do. I see myself more as an actor, really, acting it out. In different ways, I'm in a wonderful play, but it's a different play every time, And I've been in 105 bands, dude. I mean, I've been in an awful lot of rock and roll bands, and each one has had its own kind of vibe to it.
A lot of bands. Holy Toledo.
Lip gloss, no lip gloss, whatever, but many different incarnations. That's for
sure. Look who you are now. Look at the information and the wisdom you can bring to your radio show. Guests, talk to anybody about any subject, and just go with it. No minutia. You just go with the flow, like water.
Like Bruce Lee, baby.
Yeah, it's totally just no walls.
I had a fantastic education in that. I didn't have a mother or father. I never knew them, but my father was the Marquis, and I had a title, and I had this education in these public schools, these boarding schools, in which I stayed for eight years. Without going home. Yeah. I stayed in these schools. Because my father was imprisoned for embezzlement, and my mother was a schizophrenic and was in a place for that, and so I never saw them. And then when I was 16 in the school, and I was meant to go to 18, I said I cannot do this anymore, and I went to London. It was in Derbyshire, and I got to So With Love. Within 2 weeks I was into So With Love with the most noble, humble, beautiful man I've ever known. And to this day, it's all about Sidney Poitier, I mean,
he was the man. He was the man.
And so I had a lesson there. That was a blessing and a lesson at the same time. And it really stayed with me. You work hard, you learn those lines, and you don't fake anything. And I think that really taught me so much.
Well, it's interesting that you did that, and you took something good from it. I mean, you did the drug years, but that was everybody. But you had, but if we're looking at your life as a piece, and I can look back at mine the same way. With your parental struggles, you could have just gone down and blown up in your 20s. You actually have learned from all that. You become better. You've actually used it to become a better person.
Yes.
Whereas there's really two ways to go. Usually, it's just the arc is really big on those kind of childhoods. Either middle ground, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I went high.
I do. I found it actually it made me what I am today, and to get through all of that emotional stuff, there's still stuff I deal with emotionally about, growing up without a parent, that was heavy, man, and also it taught me something. When I was in these schools, these dreadful elitist, upper class Brits, dreadful. I mean, I think Prince Andrew is the classic example of what we're discussing here, the entitlement of it all. And I was so appalled by that, Sean. I just wanted to be in the streets. And it made me understand that the streets were something to be, to go to, be on the street. It was an adventurous sentence. And I wanted to be on the streets. And really, I'm carrying around a title and pretending to be like a Cockney. And then suddenly I realized, just be whatever it is that's happening. And in tandem with that was 60s London. Brian Jones is around the corner. You imagine that?
You controlled your own destiny.
I go to school with Mitch Mitchell, drama school. And he says, come on, let's go down this club. It's this black geezer, he's left-handed, he's really talented. You should come down and see him. Fucking Hendrix. And I go down there, the front row is Clapton, Townsend, Jeff, Beck, everybody's in there. And the next day they all go out and get perms. I go to Jimmy. Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable. Well, you're living in a vibe of absolute utter velvet rock and roll. In high heels, high heel boots, velvet, and a bit of eye makeup and a lot of hashish. And I went from the British, all of this, and then suddenly you're like, huh? And it was an equation that nobody could have possibly gotten through without realizing that life is meant to be enjoyed.
I think you got to enjoy the decadence, and then you got to enjoy the rest of on the up note too. I think you get the best of both worlds. You got a leg each side of the fence.
It's a very colorful fence.
You got to enjoy rock and roll and the decadence, and then you got to live and continue to live it so healthy and continue on in music with a new perspective, fresh.
Yeah. Jimmy Page has really too grown enormously. I think he's such a brilliant guy, and he's very happily married. And what he's done, I think, is really fantastic. A, he gave us the Masters for Detective, which is unheard of, and B, he really has, I think, made Zeppelin. People today can enjoy Led Zeppelin by his work, remastering, putting books out and photographs. Keeping that legacy alive has been what he's done, and he's done it beautifully, unegoically, and really, I think, with great scholarly attention. And I think that is pretty incredible. I mean, I was shocked when I got these masters.
You just decided you wanted to do that? There was no...
I think it was a spiritual thing. I think it was really a magical spiritual moment. And it certainly was for the band. They were overjoyed in ecstasy, burst into tears, one of them. And, I am almost in tears now. But
gift. It's a good gift,
It was an amazing thing for him to do. And we're very excited that people are going to be able to enjoy it. I do. 8 years ago yesterday, I was doing an internet interview with Marion Williamson, who is a fascinating, woman and metaphysician, as it were. And Maureen Van Zandt was listening in. And Andrew Lou Golden, who I adore and is a very significant figure, as you guys know, at 19, he managed the Rolling Stones. And he's an incredible man. He was working with Little Steven at Little Steven's Underground Garage. And he and Stevie, they decided that Andrew would do something else. So that spot was open. Maureen saw me interview this incredible woman and whispered in Stevie's ear. And Stevie called me and said, would you fill in for Andrew for a couple of weeks? The couple of weeks, those couple of weeks that change your fucking life, and it did change my life in every way. And after those 2 weeks, I got the gig, and I've been doing it every single day for the last 8 years. I never take a vacation, I mean, I'll take a few days here and there. We'll go somewhere, we'll fly and we'll be there for a few days, and then we'll come back, and I go back on this mic and I talk to the people and play this music. And it's great because yesterday was the anniversary, 8th year, and he sends me a text saying, Destiny, your entire life was doing research to be on the radio.
I was just getting ready to say that. I was going to end that. Yeah. Everything you do ties into radio. I mean, everything, to the
Everything.
comments, to the artists, because you've touched everything. Like, where does, well, you radio, performance, both sides of it, sober, not sober. Like, you've touched everything. You've been there through all the big things, the small things, the dirt, you know.
My ambition is to interview Alf. Yeah.
Maybe
I'm
someday.
gonna do it before you, Sean.
That would be the best. I would love to see him come back.
He's
That would be
heavy.
hilarious. That's what we need right now. I think that's literally what 2020 needs right now.
I agree. We need something funny. I mean, everything
ridiculous. He's like a giant hamster. It's just ridiculously funny.
You know,
it's so stupid.
On that tip, you know, all of these TV series are always about these absolutely insane youngins.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's how they see it. You know, and it's an amazing. I mean, television has never been better. You know, except for the glory days of Seinfeld and all of that. But on a whole other level of this tremendous thing that we face, this devilment, this dreadful pandemic thing, and now Putin. I mean, Jesus, you know, it's tough times. You've got to really stay. You guys, it's really disciplined. Eat well, drink lots of water, love yourself enough to be loved. Be cool, be kind, and be courageous. You'll be okay.